Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. You know what to do. We are live, so get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think. It is deadline day. The January transfer deadline day is upon us, and United have been linked with a few transfers. We'll have to wait and see whether any of them are going to come to fruition. What we do know, though, is some outgoings. So I'll get to potential incomings in a minute. But first of all, we'll talk about outgoings because there's a couple of players definitely going out on loan, and there's a couple more who may be going out on loan, so we'll get into all that. Make sure, though, you are getting involved in these comments. Santa Notch is always here. Good to see him. Santa Notch says, it's deadline day. It's deadline day, the second most exciting day of the year, behind Boxing Day, of course. Right, first of all, let's talk about potential outgoings then. It looks like Charlie McNeill, well, we know Charlie McNeill is going to Newport. Big fan of Charlie McNeill. We're always bigging him up on the channel. Great youngster, scored loads of goals as a young player. I like him. I think he's got a bright future. He needs some game time, though. Hasn't really had any game time this season. I think he had a little bit of a cameo, didn't he, in the, was it the Sociedad game? A couple of appearances in friendlies, but he needs some proper game time. So going to Newport gives him the chance to get some minutes and hopefully take that first step towards coming back and playing for Manchester United. It's always with a youngster touch and go how it's going to pan out for them, but he's certainly got the talent. There's no doubt about that. It's just whether it's going to work out for him and whether he can make the sort of the journey to the very top. I think he potentially can. I think he will. But he needs to go and get some minutes and prove himself. Got a long way to go. He's still only a kid, but this will be a good move for him and hopefully can, like I said earlier, can lead to him eventually having a career at Manchester United. I'll get into some more outgoings in a minute. I'll just go and get into some of the comments. Jacoy Trot says, morning, Jay. Glazer's out. Time for signing. Doesn't matter who. Yep. Glazer's out always. Ute Hube says, one more Brazilian can never be a bad move. Yeah, I'll get into that. So you can see there about Charlie McNeill going to Newport. Another one who's on his way out of Manchester United is DeShon Bernard. I think he's going to Portsmouth. I think that's been agreed. So, yeah, you can see there, he's going out on loan to Portsmouth today. Another player, good young player. He's had a couple of moves already, and DeShon Bernard. It's one of those where I think, I'm just going to get into this now and double check because I think, is he 22? Yeah, he is. So he went to Salford City and he went to Hull. I think he did pretty well at both those clubs. Needs some minutes, needs a move, getting it to Hull. To Portsmouth. He's at that age, isn't he? 22, where you think, is it going to happen for him at Manchester United? Is this going to be his club, or is he going to get a low move and then that becomes a permanent one? I'm not going to say that at 22 you're done. I just think now it's like make or break time. I think someone like Charlie McNeill, who's still a teenager, can go away. He can have a couple of seasons going out on loans. You remember Jesse Lingard? He had about 4 loan moves, didn't he, before he came back and was playing for Manchester United. I feel like with Bernard, this may be the time where, it's almost make or break whether he's going to make it at United. If he goes to Portsmouth, does really well, maybe next season he gets a chance, or he gets a permanent move. We'll have to wait and see. But we wish them both well. Just on loan moves as well, there's a couple of players who've been linked with loan moves, Facundo Palestre and Anthony Elanga. Now, as it stands at this moment in time, neither of them have gone anywhere. There was reportedly 10 clubs in for Anthony Elanga. I had this in my news yesterday. One of whom was meant to be Borussia Dortmund. So he's getting a lot of interest. And I'd like to see Elanga go out on loan. I think, yes, we need people, we need bodies, and we've got all these games coming thick and fast. But he's not really happened for him this season at Old Trafford. He's been getting quite a little bit of stick. He's been getting a bit of stick from some of the fans. People questioning whether he's good enough. I think a loan move would be the right move for him. He's still only young. He's 20 years old. If he goes on loan, especially someone like Dortmund or whatever, does well, can come back, hopefully get that confidence and that experience that he needs and prove he's still got a future at Manchester United, because I'm not giving up on him yet. I think it's doubtful whether he's going to make the very top, but I don't think it's set in stone he won't, and a loan move could help him. Palestre, people seem to be a bit more warm towards, especially after some of his appearances this season, little cameos where he's done bits. He's been linked with a loan move as well. Nothing concrete. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, it's deadline day, so there might be a bit of movement for either of those players. If there is, as always, we'll have you covered. We'll go live, or we'll be doing a live show tonight for the last hour of the deadline day. Myself and Scotty will be here. Also, as well, Joe Smith is going to go to the presser today with Eric Ten Hag, because Eric Ten Hag's doing a press conference this afternoon. He'll be giving us an update presumably, on what's going on. Now, the one thing you can talk about is outgoings. I think managers are always okay saying, that player's out on loan, that player's out on loan, whatever. Incomings is always a bit different because you're talking about another club's player. So we'll see what he says anyway. Joe will be there with the updates. So Palestri, Ilanga, possibly. Harry Maguire doesn't look like he is. Harry Maguire was linked with a move to Inter Milan. I think they were interested in him. I think Inter Milan were like, you know what, we'll have anyone. If we can't have Maguire, we'll have Lindelof. We're not bothered who you've got. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Erik ten Hag is willing to let Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof go out on loan. And I get it. Listen, I know a lot of people are like, Harry Maguire, he's not good enough, 8 million quid. He's fifth choice? But we've got so many games coming up. You've still got some slight question marks over Raphael Varane's fitness. Sometimes, he does tend to get injured. You need cover. I don't think there's a massive benefit to loaning out defenders who could play this season, especially not experienced ones. It's different with youngsters because you're getting them loaned out to get minutes and to see whether they're any good. You're not doing that with Lindelof or Maguire, so I understand why Erik ten Hag would be reluctant to let either of those two go. But I do think in the summer, a move to Inter Milan could be a good move for Harry Maguire in particular. You saw what it done to other players. Like I think Ashley Young went there, won Serie A. Even Alexis Sanchez went to Inter, did he, and rejuvenated himself. Plus, you look at what Chris Smalling did at Roma in the Italian league. I think maybe going to Italy might be one for Harry Maguire, but I personally think there'll be Premier League clubs in for him. I think Harry Maguire still walks into a lot of Premier League clubs. I know people sort of give him grief, but he is an England international. He is a player who, there's a reason we paid 80 million quid for him, and he also finished third and second in the league. So it's not like he's a complete disaster, and I think there's a lot of clubs that'll have him. Santa Not says, Joe Smith is given the Peter Odemwingie reporter role. Yes, Joe's going to be there pestering players out the car window when they turn up to announce their transfers. Joe, if you don't know what he's on about there, Santa Not, right? Peter Odemwingie, when he was he at West Brom, Joe? Yeah, I think he was at West Brom when he wanted to go to QPR or something like that. And he turned up at Loftus Road, just randomly in his car, to sign for QPR when they weren't going to sign him. And then he was giving interviews through his car window, like, I've come here to sign. And they were like, well, no one's buying you. It was just one of the most bizarre sort of deadline day occurrences ever. John says, we should just buy Tony Cruz. Ed says, Reus and Raphinha are ridiculous links. Makes zero sense. We need midfielders. Right, should we talk about this then? Because this Raphinha one, it kind of caught me unawares, I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, yeah, sorry. This is the Peter Odemwingie thing. Yeah, he made the 125-mile trip from London to the Midlands as he looked to quit West Brom and was infamously, I love that word, interviewed in the car park after being denied entry to the stadium after both clubs failed to agree a fee. Imagine that. Going down there, I have just come to sign. What do you mean you don't want me? Right, okay. Do you know what? If that was me, I wouldn't be doing interviews. For starters, I'd have tinted windows and I'd be absolutely putting my foot down to get out of there. I wouldn't be stopping to chat to reporters when I just made a bit of a nana of myself. Anyway, if there is any Peter Odemwingie situations at Carrington, Joe Smith will have you covered. Should we talk about potential incomings then? Because the Mirror have got this one, and it's been reported elsewhere as well. I think I saw it in the Express about 2 potential incomings. One is Raphinha. Now, Raphinha, who went from Leeds, we all hate Leeds, in the summer to Barcelona. And I don't know, man. Barcelona just seems like a club that's just off its head. It's just anything seems to go at Barcelona. It's like they buy players like, let's get, whoever. Like they buy, it was Aubameyang, and then a season later he's gone. And it's like Memphis, get him in, get rid of him. Raphinha, get him in. 6 months later, let's get rid of him. It's never ending. But yeah, apparently he could be available. There could be something there, according to the Mirror, where Manchester United try and make a move for him. He's probably not a position in a winger where you think we need bodies. I mean, we've still got Jadon Sancho to come back. We've got Garnacho. Marcus Rashford obviously plays out wide. You've got Anthony as well. But if you could get him, I wouldn't be against it. I was actually surprised, me and Joe were talking earlier, I was surprised at his numbers last season. I didn't realise he scored 11 Premier League goals in 35 games for a Leeds side who were often struggling as well. So that's pretty decent. And I think in a United team, he could do well. And, I'll have him if he's available. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. I think it's doubtful. Let's be honest about it. I'd be surprised if he arrived by the end of deadline day, but stranger things have happened. One Skill Rap, who's been a member of the academy for 8 months, says, I'll be surprised if we get somebody today. There will be a lot of work in the summer. I agree. I think the summer is where we're going to go, hopefully, a bit turbo. I can see us maybe not buying loads of players, but I'd expect a couple of big names, or at least one big name, a striker, and potentially a midfielder as well. You got the stats there from Raphinha. 11 goals and 3 assists in 35 games for Leeds. Yeah, those are decent numbers there, aren't they? So, yeah, you'd have that at United if you could replicate that sort of form. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Do you know what? It'd be funny just to see Leeds fans having a little bit of a meltdown. Do you know what I mean? I'm all about that. I love all that, mate. Another player we've been linked with, and this was sort of doing the rounds, wasn't it, last week a bit, was Marco Reus. Obviously, he's at Dortmund. Has had injury problems in the past, hasn't he? He's out of contract soon. There's talk of him going. United have been linked with him. Apparently, we had scouts looking at one of his games recently. Erik ten Hag's reportedly meant to be a fan. Again, with I think the Mirror and the Express have been covering this one. I mean, you'd have him, wouldn't you? I mean, I personally would. I think, yes, there's question marks about his injury record, but I think as an addition, especially if you're looking at Christian Eriksen being out for any length of time, then Marco Reus coming in, it's a bit like, right, okay, that's fair enough. That's a decent cover. But again, it's doubtful. It's one of those where stranger things have happened. I'm not expecting this to happen. He's out of contract, they can see, in the summer, and he's assessing his options away from Germany. I feel like he would want, I don't know, I feel like he might want something a bit more long-term than just coming to United for, 5 months? But would United offer him a longer-term deal? I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. If there are any developments, as always, we will let you know. Good player. It was, quite a few years ago, wasn't it, that he was absolutely revered around Europe and was one of the sort of superstars of football. Has had a patchy record of injuries. There's a couple of seasons, one where I think he barely played 20 games. So that is a worry, especially when he's 33 years old as well, because, despite what I always claim, you don't actually get, less injury prone when you're older. So it could be a bit of a gamble there, and especially if you're bringing in someone to cover for an injured player, you don't want them to be have question marks around their injury record. Although he's not played loads of games this season. Is it about? I think it's about 9 games. Is it in the Bundesliga? 12 games in all competitions. So it's not like he's been completely anonymous this season. He has had games. I just don't know. Glenn F says, morning, Jay, my man. Wayne Davies says, just joined. Who are we talking about? I'll do a little roundup before we wrap up. Abhinav Verma says, Jay, we ain't even in top 10 in the transfer window. How will we make it into the transfer window Champions League? I know, man. We need transfers. Never mind league positions and trophies. Winning cups. Oh, pathetic. It's all about transfers. Just a little bit of a roundup before we finish. So, outgoings. DeShon Bernard, Portsmouth. Charlie McNeill going to Newport. Both of those on loan deals make sense. Potentially Anthony Elanga and Facundo Palestri going out on loan. We'll keep you posted on that one. Apparently there's a lot of interest in both those two youngsters, which makes sense because regardless of whether you think they're good enough for Manchester United or not, they're good enough for many clubs, most clubs, and I think you'd have him. There was talk, one of Everton not long ago wanting Anthony Elanga. Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof ain't going anywhere, according to the latest reports. If that changes, we'll let you know, but I don't think it will. Inter Milan were sniffing round him, but it looks like that's not going to happen. Doesn't make a lot of sense as well, so you can understand why it wouldn't. Then there's, on the incomings, there's a bit of a sort of left field one with Raphinha from Barcelona. Manchester United apparently looking at getting him in. Could be available as well. Barcelona, who just, seem to be up for any transfer they can get their hands on, could be willing to let him go. And also Marco Reus from Dortmund could be another one coming in. There are suggestions that we will be looking at a midfielder. Yuri Tillemans was the one I had yesterday in my news. Because of this injury to Christian Eriksen, United wanting extra bodies. And the fact Erik ten Hag has said, if we can do something, that'd be great, sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing, but he's sort of insinuated that if we can make a deal happen, he wants to see that happen. So those are the ones to look out for as well. We will keep you posted. Joe's going to be at the press conference later, so he'll be getting it straight from the horse's mouth. to see whether Eric Ten Hag can give us any updates. And then tonight, for the last hour of the transfer window, we'll be keeping you posted with a live show with myself and David Scott to keep you updated with any movement. Arsenal have just signed Jorginho as well, if you care about that, from Chelsea. So they're doing bits. It's about time United did too. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I've been Jay Motti. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.